But the
Yeah.
user growth was incredible. They, that's what really draw me back to the stories. Like, I'm looking at the numbers here, and they bounced back 203 million DAUs, record growth, biggest sequential net add in years.
Since
And
Instagram stories launched.
yeah, exactly. And
It's
so to me, I'm like, wow, like, so what is driving this resurgence of Snapchat? And do you have any insight into that trend? Because that's huge, seeing that reverse.
Yeah, I think really the obvious answer is the kind of viral, gender and baby swap lenses that they had in Q2. A lot of people saw those. I think they announced in the official earnings call was that 200 million people used them. So there's 203 million daily active users, which is, by the way, on Snapchat, they measure their daily active users as the average daily user per out the whole quarter. So the 90 days, 92 days in a quarter, whatever. So let's say there's extreme example. Let's say there's 100 on half the days and there's 150 users on the other half. DAUs would be 125 in the middle, the average of the whole quarter. Facebook and Twitter, and I can't remember what Pinterest does. They do it over the last month of the quarter. So Facebook they could be doing terrible in April and May, and then in June, whatever, their numbers are really good. You'll only see the June numbers when they report. It's over those last 30 days, that last month in the quarter. Snap's over the whole quarter.
Yeah,
So
and Snap pioneered the DAU metric, actually disclosing that. None of these other social networks were disclosing DAUs. Snap had the balls to do it, and now Twitter's actually copying them with the DAU metric.
the
And I always gave Snap a
monetizable,
lot of
yeah.
props for that, as I was like, I'm impressed that you guys are willing to disclose this DAU unit just up front. And anyway, I don't want to interrupt, but I just think they were a pioneer in that disclosure.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge for them. And it really shows like the people that use it, sure, they don't have 2.7 billion monthly users, whatever the number of Facebook is, like their whole family of users. And I can dive into that and pick that apart later on. But yeah, I mean, they really have, 100 million people in the US are using it very frequently. And I think it's 83 million, I think, is in North America that use it every day now on average. So anyways, going back to the recent resurgence in user growth that we were talking about a couple minutes ago, stepping back. So yeah, I think that the AR filters, the face swap, the gender swap, that was the kind of the easy answer to the question. But really, when you really step back and look at what they've been doing over the last 2 years, and even before they went public, I think Evan Spiegel, the CEO, had like commented on Reddit threads and Android about fixing the Android app, which was terrible. Like the app just crashes and the camera doesn't work very well. Like it's glitchy. They've been working on fixing that for 2 to 3 years. They basically rebuilt the whole thing. And this kind of gets into another question that maybe you're going to ask, maybe you weren't, but I think Snapchat's whole pace of innovation was slowed because they couldn't build on the Android app, because the Android app, they just kind of left for dead. It was, they were still adding features to it, but just none of it worked very well. So if they added uh, those crazy AR filters, they actually use like deep machine learning and kind of like a neural network. No idea how that works, but that's what they said on the conference call. So we're going to go with it. To do the face swap, and that's why it worked so well and why people were blown away from it. They couldn't do that, I'm assuming, on the old Android app. They could only do it on the new
Wow.
one. So rolling out that new
I like
redesign, that
this.
took them years. It took them a long time to do it, but now that they have this, the Android app is basically like the iOS app. I think that I've read stuff that on the performance side, Android's still not quite as good, but it's a lot better than it was. So it's going to let Snap build on basically just a whole new infrastructure that's way more sound. It's kind of like trying to build up a skyscraper on sand versus concrete. Like
Yeah.
you're trying to build on sand, like everything will keep kind of falling apart and like you won't be able to grow. And that's why all my friends who use Android, they stopped using Snapchat over the last couple of years. Uh, and
Wow.
and and I'm 28. This is when I was, 25, 26, 27, and you kind of noticed it. And they all loved the crazy gender swap. I mean, everybody did. So stepping back again, even further back, because we really got deep on this. But so there was on the earnings call, they said that 200 million people use that filter, the viral AR filters. So they have 203 million daily users. So that goes to show that there's probably not quite overlap on that, but really they reached a ton of people who maybe weren't necessarily using Snapchat anymore and brought them back in. And I think
Totally.
on the earnings call, they estimated something like 7 and 9 million of the DAUs of those 13 were related to getting sucked in due to the AR filter. And I say sucked in, I just mean that in terms of kind of that loop that we talked about where you see a snap and you're like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna send this funny. I'm a baby. Look at this. Or like, I'm a. I look like the female version of me. Like I have long hair and like I look beautiful, but I have a beard on that you can kind of see. Or and you send that to someone else. So that's kind of how all these different users get into the sort of the Snap ecosystem.